Welcome back to AI Unfiltered, the podcast that puts our digital future under the microscope. I'm Ada.
And I'm Ben. So, Ada, after our last episode, I've been thinking about that final question we posed. Who gets to make the rules for this new reality? It feels like we're standing at the shore of a new continent, and a handful of giant ships are racing to claim it all for themselves.
That's a perfect analogy, because that's exactly what's happening. In part one, we covered the what and the how, the technology. Today, we're getting into the much more important questions, the why and the who. We're moving beyond the hype to navigate the ethics, the societal impact, and what our role is in all of this before we all get our virtual passports.
I'm glad, because it feels like we're at a critical moment. It's not just about cool tech anymore, it's about the very foundation of our future society. So, where do we even begin with untangling this?
Let's start with the business model. The 2D internet runs on an attention economy. The goal is to keep you scrolling, clicking, and watching. In the metaverse, that model gets supercharged. It's not just about capturing your attention, it's about capturing your presence.
That sounds intense. So instead of just serving me an ad for shoes because I glanced at them online, it's something more.
Oh, so much more. Think about the data a headset can collect. We're not just talking about what you click on. We're talking about eye tracking, knowing exactly what you look at and for how long. We're talking about biometric data, your heart rate, your stress levels. They can use AI to analyze your facial expressions and tone of voice to gauge your emotional state in real time.
Hold on. So, a company could know I'm feeling anxious during a virtual work meeting before I've even consciously processed it myself. That is a level of psychological insight no advertiser has ever had before. It's terrifying.
It is, and it leads to the core ethical dilemma. Do we want a metaverse optimized for corporate profit, using these deep psychological insights to keep us engaged and consuming? Or do we want a metaverse optimized for human well being?
It seems like an obvious choice, but I don't see a human well-being button on most apps. So how do we push for that? How do we build this thing responsibly?
This is where the big structural ideas come in. The first is interoperability. Right now, we have walled gardens. If you buy a cool outfit for your avatar in one company's world, you can't take it to another. Interoperability is the opposite. It's the dream of having one digital identity, one avatar, and one inventory of items that you own and can take anywhere.
So it's the difference between being a citizen of the entire internet versus being a customer who's only allowed to shop at one specific mall.
Exactly. And that leads to the second key concept, decentralization. Instead of one company owning the platform, controlling the rules, and holding all the data, decentralization uses technology like blockchain to distribute that power. It allows for true digital ownership. You don't just rent your digital sword or your virtual house from a company, you own it, just like you own your car. It even opens the door for new forms of governance, like DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations, where the users of a platform can literally vote on its rules and future direction.
Okay, that sounds much more democratic. It sounds like a way to build a digital world from the ground up, by the people, for the people. But it also sounds like a huge battle against the companies that want to build those private, controllable malls.
It's the central battle for the soul of the metaverse. And it's not just economic or political, it's deeply personal. What happens to our sense of reality when we spend hours a day in a place that is photorealistic, haptically real, and filled with AI characters that are indistinguishable from humans? What happens to our memories?
It's a bit scary to think that my most cherished memory could one day be from an experience that was entirely fabricated in a simulation. It complicates the very idea of what it means to be human.
It does, which is why this conversation can't just stay in tech circles. It has to be had by everyone. And that brings us to what we, as individuals, can actually do about it.
All right, so this is the moment. It all feels so big and abstract. What's the practical game plan for someone listening right now who feels a mix of excitement and anxiety and wants to help steer this ship in the right direction?
It breaks down into three actionable steps. The first, and maybe the easiest, is simply to engage with the metaverse. And I don't mean you have to run out and buy an expensive headset. Play Pokemon Go for an afternoon to understand the basics of augmented reality. Download a free social VR app like Rec Room or VR Chat on a computer and see what it's like to just exist and talk to people in a virtual space.
So it's about moving it from a vague concept you read about into a tangible experience you understand, even on a small scale. It demystifies it.
Precisely. The second step is to be informed. Go beyond the headlines. Follow digital ethicists, tech journalists, and builders who are specifically talking about creating an open and equitable metaverse. Understand the arguments for interoperability and decentralization. Think of it like learning the basic political vocabulary of this new country we're all about to move to. You need to know the language to participate in the debate.
And once you've tried it and you understand the language, that leads to the final step, right?
You got it. The final and most critical step is to join the conversation. Use your voice. When you talk to your friends, don't just ask, is the metaverse cool? Ask, what kind of metaverse do we want? Share articles and podcasts that discuss the ethical side of it. Support projects and companies that are transparently committed to open standards. The future isn't just built by developers in Silicon Valley, it's shaped by public opinion and consumer demand. Your voice, when joined with millions of others, creates the pressure that forces companies and policymakers to listen.
So, to recap, dip your toes in the water to understand it, learn the language of how it works, and then use your voice to advocate for the future you want to see. Engage, inform, and participate.
That's it. It's not about rejecting technology, it's about consciously and deliberately shaping it to reflect our best values. The metaverse could be one of the most transformative technologies in human history. We have a brief critical window of time right now to influence whether it connects us or divides us, empowers us, or exploits us.
We'll leave our listeners with one final thought to take with them. If you had the power to write the first line of the Constitution for the metaverse, what would it be?
A powerful question to end on for our audience. Comment us what you think, and thank you for joining us for this deep dive. Share this podcast with your friends and family, and let's go build a better reality, both real and virtual.
Until next time on AI Unfiltered.